I thought we could look at the life of Richard Johnson. Richard Johnson, and he was the chaplain of the First Fleet that came to Australia in 1788. Richard Johnson was a Yorkshireman, born about 1756. He was educated at Cambridge, but had to work to pay for his tuition, so his family was not rich. He was recommended for appointment by keen evangelical Christians John Newton, William Wilberforce and others. They were excited about the potential for a settlement in the newly discovered Great Southland ever since Captain Cook made his discoveries. Their vision for Australia had two components: that Australia should be Christian and that Australia should be a base for spreading the benefits of Christianity to all the new South Pacific lands and peoples. Richard also had farming experience and was a keen Christian. The First Fleet sailed from Portsmouth in England on 13th of May 1787, bound for New South Wales. The fleet consisted of 2 Royal Naval ships and 9 transport vessels. There were almost 1,400 persons on board, 786 convicts and 633 sailors, marines and other officials. The 8th month's voyage has been described as the biggest single overseas migration the world has ever seen. On embarkation, people were apprehensive. One person's diary read, "The land behind us was the abode of civilised people, that before us of savages. All communication with families and friends is now cut off. We are leaving the world behind us to enter a state unknown." The 8-month journey to Australia was horrendous. One diary record reported, "Had very strong gales of wind with very heavy seas running, which keeps our vessel almost constantly underwater and renders the situation of everyone on board her truly uncomfortable." 69 people died during the journey. On 26th of January 1788, the First Fleet sailed into Port Jackson. 4 days later, 2 French frigates, commanded by La Perouse, turned up. 8 days after landing, on Sunday 3rd of February, Richard Johnson, the naval chaplain, conducted the first Christian service in Australia. His text was Psalm 116, verse 12. "What shall I render unto the Lord for all that he has done for me?" The psalm is all about what you do when, in answer to your prayers, God saves you from death. The psalmist's grateful response is to give God an offering and to worship and praise him. Richard Johnson was saying to all the First Fleeters that God will look after those who put faith in him. He will come to their rescue in their hour of need. God had kept them alive through the journey, and their response should be to worship God and thank God for their new land. Richard Johnson took part in short exploring expeditions, was a successful market gardener, and with his wife he founded the first school in the nation. By the end of the first year, he was meeting his own needs for vegetables and salad from his own garden. He became known as the best farmer in Sydney town. He was a compassionate and devout Christian, serving all sections of the colony. He conducted church services every Sunday and prayers every evening. Over his first 4 years in the colony, he performed 226 baptisms, 220 marriages, and 854 burials. After 2 years, he was doing worship services in Parramatta and Toongabbie, as well as Sydney. He could not get the governor to build a church for the new colonials, so in his 5th year in the colony, he built a church himself with convict help. It held 500 worshippers. What a remarkable achievement. He and his wife used the church building to school 200 children. He was loved and respected by many of the convicts and Aboriginal people to whom he ministered. After 12 years, Richard Johnson returned to England. We salute Richard Johnson, a Christian who made a difference.